one of the good tools that my university has, and I'm sure there are other universities that have this, is like an office that works as a liaison with the community, that connects students with organizations that are working on issues that students are interested in. And I think that if your university doesn't have that, you should really advocate for that, because that will allow you to learn in the real world what's going on, and that is 100, 1,000 times much better than sitting in a classroom and reading your textbook and taking an exam, because guess what? You need to know how to work in the real world. And I think that that is one of the best experiences that you can have. So the community service center at a university is very important. Also, to all of the university presidents that are here present, I would encourage you to establish a community service minor, at the least. Yeah, a community service studies minor can come very beneficial, and it could be applied to any field. It's very interdisciplinary. And that's the way that students can apply what they're learning in the community and apply it to their work, to their field. And I think that would make us a better prepared student to serve our communities and to enter the workforce. I think that's something that we really need to have.
You talked about, go ahead.
John, I was just going to say that, because I think this is an incredibly important point, and it's particularly relevant given the crowd that's here today. So I just wanted to make a couple of remarks on it. This question of how do you connect universities to communities and students within those universities to communities. And so if you don't mind, let me just give you a brief story. So I was interested in starting this charter school, south side of the city, serving low-income boys. And when I went about this process, I went to the Northwestern University and I said, hey, you know, I'm doing this project. I'd love to teach a class about this. And to Northwestern's credit, they said, sure, we will allow you, you know, not a PhD academic to come into our school and teach a class. So I taught this class. So that's one thing I think universities can do. They can encourage people from the community to come in and teach their students. So I went and started teaching at Northwestern as one class. I taught a class on school reform. During the course of teaching that class, I met a student by the name of Craig Carter, who happens to be here today. Raise your hand, Craig. Hello, Craig. We'll embarrass him. And Craig was really inspired by what we were doing at Urban Prep. And he asked, is there some way I can help? And so Craig was the guy who was with me as I went around the Inglewood community, which is the community in which the school is located, and went to people asking, community organizations, saying, hey, we want to do this in your community. What do you think? And Craig was right there the whole time, supporting us and talking to these folks and doing the late work with me. We opened the school. Craig graduated from Northwestern, went off to the business world to make a lot of money for a couple years, decided his pockets were full, but his soul was empty, and he decided to quit that job and come work at Urban Prep. And so now he works at Urban Prep full time. That would not have happened had I not had that opportunity to teach at Northwestern, had he not taken that class, had we not been able to connect in that way. And so, and I believe that Craig has contributed tremendously to the success of it. He now coaches, you know, one of the basketball teams at the school. I mean, that doesn't happen without universities really connecting and plugging in with communities. So it's really, really important.
Is he happier than when he was making money?
I think, you know, like I said, you know, I think the reverse is true now. His pockets are emptier, but his soul is far fuller.
It's not a lot, but there are some students who are hesitant to do community service because they don't want to go out of their comfort zone. But getting out of your comfort zone actually lets you grow. So that's one thing you can tell your friends if they're in that situation. Another frustration can be just adults in general. I mean, I'm getting to be an adult, I guess. 20, so I guess I am an adult. Anyway.
That's close.
It's close, right? Yeah, adults can be a challenge sometimes. Bear with me. They can be a challenge sometimes at the university setting, but also the community setting, because I think that sometimes they don't necessarily like believe in us 100%, and they're kind of like, okay, give it a try, we'll see what happens. And then when it actually works, they're like, oh my God, this works. I never thought about this. You did a great job. So that does get a little frustrating sometimes, but it doesn't happen very often. I'm glad to say that. But I want to say maybe 4 years ago, that happened a lot, especially in the community setting, going door to door. You would see this 14-year-old talking about environmental hazards and talking about all these chemicals coming out of the coal power plant. They're like, okay. But when you take pictures, when you document it, make a video, like you have their attention 100%, and that's when people get engaged. So I think like getting at things creatively, using social media, just being youth, it helps.